doing some tactical research to the north of Venezuela to see if there would be any more evidence of troop or ship movements. I was looking around Puerto Rico, and when you look around this island off in the waters, there are more than a few anomalies that we could talk about. But there's one very, very specific one I would like to show you guys today that is reproduced literally identically in a completely different part of the world. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are aware of this little island I'm going to zoom in on in the Virgin Islands. It's called Little St. James Island. It's also more commonly known as Pedophile Island. It is private property of one Mr. Jeffrey Epstein, member of Mar-a-Lago, and got a very, very sweetheart deal. The worst serial pedophile ever to live. Never really saw any time in jail because of a man named Alexander Acosta, our current Secretary of Labor. However, that's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is something we found on his island that is an odd artifact. Here, dead center, is what looks like some strange attempt at a sundial. What looks like some very large Roman numerals written out here, and at least whenever this particular image was taken, it's showing something like 2 minutes to midnight. It's very hard to, it would depend on the angle you would be looking at this, I guess, from. So, very weird. He's a very weird man, so I don't think this by itself would be something that should alarm anyone, more so than they should already be alarmed by the man. But this exact same artifact you can find someplace on a completely different continent, literally reproduced exactly. Now, you can't make this stuff up. This is Antarctica. If you zoom out, it's not right in the center, but it's just off to the side of this mountain range. Now we'll zoom out just a little bit farther to give you a little bit of perspective. Down here is the southern tip of Chile. And from a distance, of course, it becomes something you can't see. But as you zoom in, you start to see this little white dot. And when you look at it, there is this strange little cut taken out of this perfectly white circle. Don't know why. First time I saw it, I thought, well, just an artifact, just something strange. It's a strange continent, and I'm sure the imagery is very, very hard to get completely accurately. But then, look at this. You're telling me this is just a coincidence that this was photographed at just the right time so that the shadow of whatever the centerpiece is here is showing about 2 minutes to midnight, this little tiny cutout right here. And we have this in Antarctica, literally mimicking almost the exact same picture. It is odd. And there's this strange line that runs in between the two here. I don't know if you can kind of see this. There's a very faint second line in here as well. It's just odd how close these two images are. Now, the image that you're looking at here is from a camera height of 85 kilometers. And here, it's only about 112 meters. So, one would have to be much closer to see this on a computer to appear the same. But from any vantage point in any type of craft flying over, these would look identical. And I don't know how anyone can explain this away as just some kind of a coincidence, given that we saw all sorts of trips of certain high-level folks right around the time of the last election to Antarctica. And now we see this. What do you think? Is this just some strange coincidence? Am I just seeing things on the map? I don't think so. I'm not a big believer in coincidences. I mean, the idea that there could be two white discs, okay, I get that. Probably all over the place. Could probably find 100 of them. But that you would catch one with these two lines, and this is clearly a trick of light and shadow here, to show this small amount of piece of the pie, I guess would be the best way to describe this, taken out. And here you see almost literally the exact same thing. I'll zoom this out one more time here to show you where we're at. And as you can see from way, way, way up, you can't really detect it. This, of course, here down to the right, this is the very southern tip of Chile and Argentina. And this is where it meets Antarctica. And we'll zoom this back in real quick, just so everyone knows I'm not making this up. There's that. And now we go to Google Earth. We zoom this out, and this is little St. James Island out in the middle of the Caribbean off the coast of Puerto Rico. And you can get an idea of how small that island really is. Very, very, very tiny place. So, I don't know. I really, really don't know, folks. It just seems like way too much of a coincidence for me for that to have been photographed that way and there to be that imagery down at the South Pole. We'll leave that there. 7 minutes, I guess, on two pictures is probably about as much as I would want to speak about it. The last thing I will leave with is something, once again, out of South America that is just totally disturbing. The Senate voted unanimously, or is the House one of the two? The House, I'm sorry. The House of Representatives voted unanimously to hold Mr. Ortega accountable for all of the violence in Nicaragua, given the fact that we can demonstrate that there are a great many outside agitators that are in that country. And the U.S. has called for a suspending of the Constitution in Nicaragua and early elections, which was the exact same tactic they used in Venezuela, trying to get, and they actually did get early elections in Venezuela, just didn't turn out like they thought it would. So Evo Morales has come out and stood up and said, you know what, this is something the United States has had a propensity to do in the past. This nation-building interference type of thing in other people's affairs. Not saying that Mr. Ortega is a good guy in the least, but the problems that Mr. Ortega is having to face are largely due to U.S.-backed and U.S.-financed paramilitaries in his country. It's one of the reasons that we have people coming to our border and wanting to get into this country is not of their doing. It is drug cartels that are heavily financed by sales made right here in the good old United States. So anyway, I guess we will just leave that there, but once again, Google Earth has revealed something very, very odd going on. And that's strange that that decided to, in that short amount of time, unload. But hopefully it'll come right back. But Little St. James Island, there is a white disk with a small cutaway that is completely reproduced. Here it comes. There we go. Almost identically in Antarctica. You can't make this stuff up. You just can't do it. I just have no good explanation for this, so we will leave it there. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for everyone coming to the channel and all of the support. Over 26,000 subscribers, 7.5 million views. The Patreon channel is gone absolutely so much better than I had ever thought it could. 5 days a week we do psychological operations training, and every day it seems like new people are stepping up and partaking so that they can be armed on the information battlefield. We will see you again next time. Like, share, subscribe.